Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are the Fife Nation, and my name is Jordan, and today I'm going to be discussing with you guys charges and how exactly they work. But first, before I go into charges at all, this is totally irrelevant to the guide whatsoever. The newest patch for Open Beta just dropped, which was the first major patch, you can say, of Open Beta, and it added... Oh my goodness, this is just amazing. I opened up my stash when I heard about the skill gems being redone in the artwork, being redone for them, and this is just amazing. Great job to GGG for doing this. I'd also like to note that the patch was about 450 megabytes. It took about 5 minutes to download, and the servers were down for roughly 1 minute. That's amazing. That's a really, really good job with the patching process. Again, great job to GGG. Hopefully other future patches will be like that. But okay, now let's get on with the guide. So, charges, what exactly do they do? Well, being a new player, when I was a new player actually, I had no idea what charges did, and I kind of ignored them because I had no idea what they did. But as time went on, I learned what they did and how they impacted your gameplay, and they actually can impact your gameplay a lot. Effectively, charges are buffs. They are buffs that have a set time duration, but don't reserve any mana like auras do, such as Grace, because Grace reserves a piece of mana. How you get charges is by using certain skills. Now, there are 3 charges currently in the game, each representing strength, intellect, and dexterity. The dexterity one that is currently on my build that I'm using is called Frenzy, a Frenzy charge. And Frenzy charges are generated by using Frenzy or killing a mob while you have the Blood Rage passive up, or the Blood Rage buff up, and you gain a Frenzy charge. Now, Frenzy charge will increase your attack speed. It's also worthy to note that by default you can have a maximum of 3 charges. And it's kind of cool about Frenzy because as the Frenzy gem levels up, your attack speed ever more increases. I believe at level 20 your attack speed can get to 10. Currently, in Open Beta, you can get up to 7 maximum charges. And I'll take a look at that in just a second, right here in the passive skill tree. So everybody can get up to 7 charges. Now, they'd have to spec in all of them, but that'd be really, really difficult. But they're just off the major... Every class has easy access to at least 1 charge, with the hybrids having an easier access to them. Such as the Duelist, for an example. Let's take a look at the Duelist. Okay. Duelist can easily get a Frenzy charge and an Endurance charge. What an Endurance charge does is it will increase your... I believe it actually will decrease the physical amount of damage that you take, and it'll increase your elemental resistance by 5. And if you would go up here towards the Witch, you can check out the Power Charge. So what a Power Charge does is, I believe it increases your critical strike chance by 50%. This does not mean it increases your critical strike chance like a 50%. No. Well, it does, but it doesn't. It's not a flat 50%. It's multiplicative. It'll take your items, your base items. This is actually how all critical strike chance works in this game. If I can open up my inventory. We'll see that bows have a critical strike chance of 5. Just right off the bat. I've actually got an affix on here that increases my critical strike chance by 10%. But by default, all bows have a 5% critical strike chance. If you were to get 1 power charge, I would have a 7.5% chance to crit. Okay. Now, on the skill tree, on the passive tree rather, I always call it the skill tree, it's really the passive tree, I gotta get in that habit. You can obtain up to 3. Up to 3 additional charges, making it a grand total of 6. And yes, I did say earlier that you can get up to 7. But that is just off of the Merciless Bandit quest rewards. I believe that Oak gives you an endurance charge. It's based off of their off of what they do. Of course, Alira is the witch, so she's of course going to give you a power charge. Creighton, I believe it's his name. Kraylin, I forget his name. He gives you a frenzy charge, I believe, and Oak will give you an endurance charge. Endurance charges are actually why Oak is really, really hard to kill for a lot of players. Because not only does Oak use endurance charges, making him harder to kill by decreasing the damage you can do to him, he uses an ability called Immortal Call. Now what Immortal Call does is it will sacrifice all of your endurance charges. You will not have endurance charges anymore. And it'll make you effectively immortal for a set period of time, depending on the number of charges that you actually have. So, but you can still get damage from elemental damage and from chaos damage, I believe. Each charge has a skill that does this. For Frenzy is Flicker Strike. Now, Flicker Strike doesn't make you immortal. I wish it kinda does. Effectively, Flicker Strike, I would pull it up from my stash, but I have no idea where it is. I have no idea what it looks like. Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. But Flicker Strike, what it does is it's a pretty early on skill, and you'll immediately teleport to an enemy. Now, generally, Flicker Strike has a set cooldown of, I believe, about 4 seconds, but with a Frenzy Charge, it becomes 0. There is no cooldown for Frenzy, and so you can just like hop all over the map. It's actually hilarious. If you get the opportunity to search up a Flicker Strike build on YouTube, it is so funny on how fast they kill stuff. And combine that with the Blood Rage passive, which is actually an extremely overpowered passive. Oh my goodness, okay, can we find it? Is this it? No, that's Lightning Arrow. No, oh my goodness, I should have had this. It is a green gem. Okay, well, we're not going to waste too much time looking for it. But effectively, what it does is it removes 4% of your maximum life per second. You gain 4% life leech. And this is all chaos damage. That 4% is chaos damage. So if you have chaos inoculation, it'll make you immune to it. Chaos inoculation is up here. Very favorable skill for witches and shadows. It'll make you immune to the Blood Rage, so there's no loss in it whatsoever. But whenever you kill an enemy with Blood Rage, you gain 1 Frenzy Charge and Blood Rage resets, so you don't have to cast it again. By default, it is a 10-second cooldown. Or countdown, rather. The buff lasts for 10 seconds. Okay. And finally, for power charges, like I was discussing earlier, if we head up here and check out the power charge. Now, power charge is probably the most hard to get because you actually have to kill an enemy to get it. With power charge, the only way to actually get power charge is using power siphon. How many times am I going to say power? And after you kill an enemy with power siphon, it is only then that you are able to get a power charge. That is the only way that you can get power charges currently. So far, every other charge has 2 possible ways to get it. With Endurance being Enduring Cry, which you just have to gather up a bunch of mobs and use Enduring Cry, and you can get Endurance charges that way. Or Warlord's Mark, which is a debuff that you can place, and it's a curse that you can place on an enemy. And when you kill an enemy, you have a 1 out of 3 chance of gaining a Endurance charge. And as I'm saying this, February 12th, 2013, I believe that soon it will become a lot easier to get endurance charges because melee need a buff, and I believe that is how GGG is going to buff them. Okay, so let us... What else do I have to talk about? Okay, yes. I talked about, the way to get rid of power charges, how power charges are used. That is used through Cold Snap. Now, I am really near 100% positive that it is a lot like Flicker Strike in that it resets the cooldown, because I'm sure that Cold Snap does have a cooldown of a few seconds, and I'm fairly positive it does in fact reset the cooldown. But if I'm wrong, I'll place up on screen what it actually does. Hopefully I'm right and not sounding like an idiot right now. So next to each and every charge that is on the passive tree, it is also worthy to note that every single charge goes through the highway. And what I mean by that, it goes through all of the, it goes a little bit off of the highway, but it's always right there on the highway. It's always very, very accessible to get a charge. So you shouldn't worry too much about that. And right next to every single charge on the passive tree is a buff to it. So for power charges on the witch side, it will increase your spell damage by 2% per power charge, which is fairly nice. So you can get up to 14% spell damage if you have 7. And next to the over here on the frenzy side, it's also worthy to note that there's only one that will do something different. The other 2 charges that are I'm terrible at finding the power charges since I never have played a build that uses them. I believe it is... Well, I can't find it, but what it does is it increases the duration by 15%. Over here, you can check it out on the Frenzy side. Increase it by 18%. Power charges is only 15%. Frenzy is 18%, and Endurance is also 18%. But right here, it will increase your invasion rating by 4% per Frenzy charge. So in total, you can get, bad with Matt, 28% evasion rating. That's cool. And then with Endurance charges, you can grab, if I can find it, it should be over here. Is this it? No, that is... Okay, yes, it is. It is a 0.2 maximum life regen, making it a grand total of a 1.4 if you grab all 7. The final thing that I would like to discuss is that there is a skill that uses all 3, and I actually have that in my inventory. Just remember that. There's a skill that uses all 3 charges, and it will dismiss them, but it also do a lot of damage. Discharge. So what Discharge does is it will deal damage, respective elemental damage to each different kind of charge. I've never really seen a build that uses this. I know it's very popular by the mobs in Act 3 that gain power charges to deal lightning damage because they do a lot of damage to me. But yes, this is the only skill in the game that utilizes all 3 different charges. I suppose you can make a build around it. I've never really seen one, but, you know, I suppose there could be one. Maybe if you're using endurance charges, but I feel like the skills make great use of it. Maybe the exception of power charges, because I don't know how many people actually use Cold Snap, but it could be usable. I also want to throw in that in order to share charges with other people, it isn't like auras where if you were inside a certain radius that the other person will not get your they will not receive your charge like an aura. But if you get the passive's keystone conduit, it'll just do that. It'll share your charges with your nearby party members. So if you are a player who likes to play in parties, you like to help out your team, you like to use charges, go for conduit because it really improves your group overall. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully this was educational to you. If it was, I highly recommend that you subscribe for more Path of Exile videos. Hit the like button if it was educational. Hit the dislike button and leave me some feedback if you didn't learn anything from this or you thought that this video was overall just crap. And if you are interested to see more of me, subscribe because I also do Let's Plays. I'll probably do Let's Plays in the future. I'm a real big fan of them. I'm a real big fan of Path of Exile right now, so I probably won't be doing them for quite a time. But, you know, maybe eventually. Alright, guys. You know what? I'll see you all next time. Peace out.